Good evening and thank you for joining us. A year and a half after the culvert collapsed, the final cost is in for the River Street reconstruction project.
Council originally set aside $2.5 million for the work, but it's come in more than $300,000 over budget. Josh Morano is following the story and joins us in studio with the details. Josh.
Thanks, Brian. Council will be asked to approve the overage at next Monday's meeting. The project faced a number of delays and challenges from the weather, which the city project engineer says were big contributors to the price jump. The final price tag for the River Street reconstruction is in and is up for Council's approval on Monday. Originally, the cost was $600,000 over budget. However, thanks to an HST rebate, the overall unfavorable variance is $326,000. Additionally, $10,000 was deducted from the cost due to contractors going over the timeline. City project engineer Mike Vogrig says while the contractor was putting in the effort, even after all the delays, they still went 2 to 3 weeks over.
There's always some back and forth, but they were putting their effort forward. Like I said, there might have been a few days here and there where we wish they had more staff or more effort put forward, but for the most part, they kind of got done what they had to get done, and they worked with us really well, especially when we ran into problems or additional work came up.
Vogrig adds, looking back on the project from both his and the city's perspective, there were areas that affected the timeline that could have been avoided and perhaps saved them more money. The investigation of the project and getting the approved budget led to a 2-month delay.
Maybe start those conversations earlier to see if we could have saved a couple of weeks, when the utility relocation started happening early in 2022, because we lost a lot of good weather in 2022 waiting for utility locates to get done. By the time those were complete, things were starting to freeze over, and that's when the contractor was actually starting to do some of that work they had to.
If Council approves it on Monday, $326,000 related to the River Street culvert replacement is going to be paid with the budget for the cancelled 2023 McKellar Bridge Deck capital project. Josh Morano, TBT News.
The Catholic Board calls the recent threats made against its high schools appalling and disheartening. The first, which came on Tuesday, forced St. Pat's to remain closed to students yesterday, before police gave the all clear to reopen today. Another threat was made against St. Ignatius late yesterday afternoon, but the school was cleared in the evening, allowing today's classes to go ahead. Board officials say they're actively cooperating with the police investigations and note the schools are safe and welcoming environments.
There was also another kind of incident at a Catholic elementary school today. Holy Family School on Roslyn Road was placed in a hold and secure this morning after what was described as hate-motivated graffiti was discovered on the doors of a portable unit. Police deemed the school safe and the hold and secure was lifted over the noon hour.
The plummeting price of palladium has forced a mine in the region to adjust its business plan. Impala Canada's Lac des Îles mine is charting what it calls a new path in response to the price drop, but it's still unclear if there will be layoffs. The price of palladium has steadily dropped to about half of what it was a year ago. The mine, north of Thunder Bay, employs more than 1,100 workers. In a recent note to employees, Impala CEO Tim Hill said a major recovery isn't expected in the short term and that the company is amending the business plan, quote, through a lens of the current price environment. Hill promised to share the new plan with employees, but couldn't say when it will be finalized.
Fort Frances residents are bracing for a 300% price increase to cross the international bridge into the U.S.
The cost of commuter cards for the toll bridge that connects Fort Frances and International Falls is set to jump soon, and many say they can't afford it. Lee Noonan has the story.
The whole region calls itself the Borderlands, and it's not uncommon for locals to cross the border every day for work, to catch a movie, or to save on groceries. Single crossing tolls have already gone up, and the price of a commuter card, now $30, is set to triple in January. The 12 crossing cards have been selling like hotcakes since Ajogan, the company that owns the bridge, said they would continue to honor cards bought at the current price.
As soon as it was announced, the customers would follow the person dropping them off into the store, and we would immediately sell out within an hour.
Stewart says the Fort Frances Safeway has sold more than 10,000 cards since the toll increase was announced in October, with sales continuing at an unprecedented rate. Pierce Gwynn and Matt Worley play for the Fort Francis Lakers but live in International Falls. They say they've each dropped $400 American to buy 20 cards, but that won't last them through the hockey season.
We cross it probably twice a day.
Yeah, 5 days a week. Some days twice, could be once.
Single mom Jasmine Bruyere has family in International Falls and says the price jump has been a challenge. She's especially worried about her mother, who depends on her to get around.
There are some of us that are living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. And I mean, if we can't go see our family and we can't be a part of that anymore because we have to limit to when we can go, special occasions or something, like it's really hard. It's really hard to think about it like that. I mean, my mom is 65 and she's not in good health. And I'm her eyes. She's blind, but I can't bring her to see her sisters now. It's hard.
Travis Glowowski owns a web design and marketing company with clients on both sides of the border and says the local business community is concerned about the increase.
Our clients are freaking out. We deal a lot, not only with businesses in town, but across the entire Rainy River District, a lot of them being resorts, lodges, fishing, hunting, things like that. We're trying to figure out if there might be like packages, some way that we can kind of figure out like, hey, we'll give you a reimbursement, or hey, just be aware that there is going to be this extra fee.
Not everyone here is feeling the cost themselves. Some say they hardly ever cross the bridge. However, they all know someone who is affected and say the issue is a stressor throughout the region. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
3 people have been arrested in the town of Marathon, accused of breaking into a home and stealing firearms. The OPP announced a 33-year-old man and a 48-year-old woman, both from Marathon, as well as an unidentified 14-year-old, have been charged in connection earlier this month. On November 18th, police received reports of a break-in that happened between November 16th and 17th, in which multiple firearms were stolen. The accused are being held in custody and will appear in court at a later date.
A person is battling life-threatening injuries after an early morning fire in Dryden. The fire service responded just after midnight to the blaze in the second story of a residential home. It also resulted in the partial closure of Highway 17 for 3 hours while crews battled the fire. The injured person was transported to the local hospital. There's no word on what caused the blaze. Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa spoke at Queen's Park today about the educational barriers that First Nations students continue to fight against. But MPP Greg Rickford insists the Ford government's plan is already moving the needle.
8 years after TRC called for changes that would lead to the gaps being closed. Speaker, there is almost no progress to show. Will this government listen to these reports and commit to removing systemic barriers for First Nation learners?
It supports Indigenous student achievements and well-being, as well as creating new areas and new opportunities for knowledge for all classrooms and all children to learn about the important contributions of Indigenous history and Indigenous culture. The Priority and Partnership Fund focuses squarely on performance of Indigenous students and their well-being. Mr. Speaker, we're closing that gap.
Tickets are running out for the 32nd annual Grand Day Draw, hosted by St. Joseph's Foundation. $50,000 is up for grabs in the daily cash draws, and ticket sales wrap up tomorrow. There have already been 4 early bird winners, with another $5,000 draw tomorrow. Once ticket sales close, a $1,000 winner will be announced every day in December, capped off by $10,000 grand prize draw on December 31st. Only 2,000 tickets are being sold. Winning tickets go back into the drum and are eligible for the rest of the draws. St. Joseph's Foundation Executive Director Gail Brescia says they only have about 150 tickets left.
I'm hopeful that Thunder Bay will come on board and buy their tickets before 4 p.m. on Thursday the 30th so that they can get entered into that $1,000 a day draw for Grand A Day. It is our 32nd year. And then, of course, the grand prize, that's $10,000 on the 31st of December.
Thunder Bay Rotary Club members were in high spirits today as they announced the float winners for the 31st annual Santa Claus Parade.
Organizers say they were blown away by all of this year's entries, even though they were only able to name 6 winners. Jess Clement has the story.
It was all smiles at the Howard Johnson Hotel as members of the Rotary Clubs of Thunder Bay awarded this year's float winners for the Santa Claus Parade.
All of the floats were tremendous. It was great to have that type of community spirit throughout that morning.
Port Arthur Rotary Club member Jim Matter says it was a hard decision for the 4 judges. They were asked to evaluate the 59 float entries on effort, theme, appearance, originality, and participation.
I think one of the largest factor was enthusiasm, were the people who were actually on the floats and in the parade itself, showing that they were enjoying the day. And boy, those 6 certainly did. Creativity was certainly number 2 and really high up there. And actually, again, that participation, getting the crowd involved with their float, a tremendous important part as well.
This year, there were 6 award winners from 6 different categories. Spirit of Dance won Best in Show, GFL Environmental won the Most Original Christmas Theme, Mattawa Four Rivers Group won the Commercial category, Onwa won the Community Group and Services category, Delico won the Educational and Child Support Services category, and Nan won the Best Other category. Blythe Hainan, Assistant Director of Communications at Delico, says this year their float was based on their Christmas Wish campaign.
We are super excited every year to participate in this parade. It means so much. There's so many kids and families that come out, and it's a great opportunity for Delico to come out and get into the Christmas spirit. And we also promote our Christmas Wish campaign. So we have a great banner that we hang. All of our employees walk with our Christmas wish bags, and we give out candy and have lots of fun in the Christmas spirit.
Matter's hoping next year's parade will be bigger and better, and says planning is already going to start this week.
2 days from now. So quite literally, we start thinking about next year's parade now. What do we need to plan ahead? Looking at the sponsors, we had tremendous sponsors this year, and Gore Motors being one of the great ones, but communicating with our sponsors, communicating with the people that have put the floats in, make sure it doesn't come to a surprise to them that, gee, next November the parade's coming up, are you ready for it? So it starts very soon.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
The Paramount Theatre is hosting a new production tonight. The Prom, presented by Paramount Live, features some talented young performers. The play tells the story of 4 down-on-their-luck Broadway actors trying to improve their public image. Under the guise of social activism, they try to support Emma, a small-town teenager whose prom has been canceled because she planned to attend with her girlfriend. The actors' schemes quickly go sideways, and they learn what it truly means to belong.
And what they discover is that there's actually a lot of people that are just looking for a sense of belonging, and it's a really great musical about acceptance and love, and there's a lot of audience interaction, and you're definitely set for a great time, a good night of laughs and cries and all that good stuff.
Feels like we're closer than ever. It's a smaller cast than what we're used to, so we really get to, be closer with each other, become this big family, and when we're in the theater and we're working with each other, it just feels like we are just this huge family, and you'll feel the love from everywhere.
The Prom will hit the stage over the next 4 nights at the Paramount Theatre, with shows starting at 7 o'clock. Tickets are available online or at the door.
Looks like a lot of fun. Well, turning to weather now, Fiona, we are back above the freezing mark today.
And back above normal for this time of year. Apparently we can only get a little bit of cold winter weather before things kick back into high gear. We had a low of -5, wind chills hitting about -10 at times in the early morning hours, but we did warm up back on the plus side to 3 Celsius. That was under mostly cloudy skies. Winds were from the southwest around the 14 to 16 kilometers per hour range for most of the day. It was only for a few hours in the afternoon that it kicked up to, at times, up to 47 kilometers per hour. But it was still from the southwest. It's still a warmer flow. Now, if we take a look at what's happening to the west, temperatures are pretty consistent through Atikokan and Upsala, Dryden, all sitting on the freezing mark. Fort Francis currently at 1. The fort started out at -6, warmed up to 4 Celsius on the plus side, so right now sitting right around the middle. As we head further up into the northwestern areas, into Red Lake, Temperatures really haven't moved since about 1 a.m. this morning. They've had a low of -1 and a high of 0, and they're back to their low of -1 again. They had a few periods of snow, but right now it is mostly cloudy and wind chills are hovering around -6 at this time. Similar temperatures as we move through Sioux Lookout, Armstrong, and into Greenstone. Now, this area north of Lake Superior has been dealing with light snow pretty consistently throughout the day, but temperatures have started at -10 and warmed all the way up to the freezing mark. Right now they've slipped 1 degree below, and they're currently experiencing a wind chill of -6. Along the north shore of Lake Superior, they are once again hovering right around the freezing mark. Sault Ste. Marie currently at their high for the day of 1. They've got some snow showers in the region, and they're looking to clear that out overnight tonight. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are under mostly cloudy conditions, and tonight we're looking at even more clouds to move in as we drop down to -3 and a wind chill of -8. These mild temperatures are actually expected to continue for a few more days, but you know it can't last forever. I'll have more details on what the weekend is looking to be like, and that's later on in the news hour.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fiona. Well, after months of negotiations, Ottawa has reached a deal with web giant Google. It's over Canadian news content. The company will pay about $100 million annually to Canadian news agencies. We'll have the details when your news hour returns after the break.
It will establish a fairer commercial relationship between digital platforms and journalism in Canada.